Ke alapuna I kamatani. Ye ha'alapuna I kamatani. Ha'akaulu hala I ke au. Ha'aha'ena me ho. Ha'agawa hine ami kayo nanahu. Ulale avale I kayo nanahu. Ulale avale I kayo nanahu. Ke alapuna. Ke ha'alapuna I kamakan. Ha'akaulu hala I ke au. Ha'aha'ena me ho. Ha'agawa hine ami kayo nanahu. Ulale avale I kayo nanahu. Ulale avale I kayo nanahu.
Look, we should clap.
Yeah.
So that was one of the oldest hulas in my lineage, sacred hula. And according to tradition, it was the first hula danced on the island of Hawaii, which is where I am from. It was composed by Hi'iaka, a goddess, the baby sister of Pele, the fire goddess. And her sister asked her to dance. And so she got up and did this dance. The choreography was probably different because the choreography is done by a woman in the late 20th century. But the chant is an old one. So I want to kind of sit into this mele, this song today with you. And inside our Bodhisattva vow, because I think they're both pointing at the same thing. From opposite shores of the same ocean. So this first line, ke ha'alapuna I kamakani, it's talking about a place. Puna is a district on the island of Hawaii. And this is where the volcano lives, in this district that has been very active of late. So active, I've never seen it in my lifetime anyway, where it has been shooting up what they call tephra. These are like little rocks. And it's like everywhere. And I heard the road was even closed into the volcano's national park because there were all these rocks all over the place out from the volcano. So it's saying that Puna is dancing in the wind. That's been the traditional. This place is dancing in the wind. But I've been reading, which I really love, Taupori Tangaro has written a different kind of translation. And I love what he says. He has a caveat in his commentary on the verse. He says, the interpretations of the following text reflect the current maturity of the author. I therefore present these perspectives in print with full awareness that what is said today may take on new meaning tomorrow. This was written in 2009, so it'll be interesting to see what he thinks. Now, anyway, I found it startling. His commentary. So he says, Puna is not dancing. This place is not dancing. Puna is entranced. The place is entranced. There's hala grows, ha'akaulu hala, ikea'au. It says literally that the hala trees, the pandanus trees, are also dancing. Ha'akaulu hala, ikea'au. The woman, Taupori is saying the pandanus groves are enchanted. They are enchanted. And Haena and Hopoi. Haena is also the name of the beach where Hi'iaka's best friend, dearest friend, Hopoi, a human woman, lives, saying that they are possessed. They are possessed, and Pele, who's asking Hi'iaka to dance, she is spellbound by this dance, hypnotized by the currents of the wind. Hypnotized by the currents of it's been pretty windy here. You could kind of say that when the wind blows so strongly, that this place is hypnotized in a sense. And then there's this final line, hula le'avale, ikai onana huki, dance with joy at the beach of Nanahuki, which is in Haena, this place. And then, but his translation is, after all of this enchantment and entrancing, only the woman, only to dance in utter clarity. Not just joy, utter clarity. Hmm. Right, right. So Tangarov tells us why this is so. A derivative of ha'a means to dance, bent knee stance, even lower than I was dancing, is a derivative of haka, which is servitude to spirit possession. Servitude to spirit possession. Don't you feel like you're possessed sometimes by thoughts? What kind of possession is that? Servitude to spirit possession. The wind, the makani, is Numa, the spirit force that animates land and ocean. The wind. To aiha'a is to dance in the stance of ha'a, being low to the ground. Is to be consumed by possession, chanting and dancing beyond normal limits. Chanting and dancing beyond normal limits. So this is in the hula tradition, in the hula pele tradition. So he has studied the hula pele, which we do as well. But his halau, I mean, they claim pele in their genealogy. So they are very fiery and jumping and they're dancing. They are very physical. Ours is not that physical, right? But he's saying in the hula pele tradition, this is a description of what actually happens when the dance is fully entered. Servitude to spirit possession, and yet dancing with utter clarity through that, going through that. So he says the dancer does not choose to be possessed. She becomes so completely present so attuned to the makani, the wind, so surrendered to the currents moving through the land and the body that the spirit moves through. The self falls away. And what remains? Hula le'a vale, dancing in utter clarity, remains. So, hula le'a vale ikayo nana. Hula le'a vale ikayo nana. So in Zen, we talk about shikantaza, just sitting. I love that. Nothing but sitting, sitting like a mountain, being mountain, sitting. So not sitting to reach enlightenment, just sitting. Noticing grasping, letting it go, just sitting, coming back. Right. Yogan says that, right? To what is that about the self? Um, I'll get to it later. Anyway. So in hula, we are going through the body, which we do also sitting on the cushion, right? Going through the body. And we're working with wind, wind. Could be winds of the mind. And in a sense, well, in dancing, we're kind of surrendering to the wind. Just so that we're forgetting the self, so it's no longer a performance, right? But it's only dancing, it's clarity, it's just being present. And isn't this where our vow lies? So that word ha'a, which means low to the ground, the first part of it is ha, which is the breath in Hawaiian, the breath, the sacred breath. The ha, this is what the gods Kane breathe into the clay figures of man and brought it to life. The ha, the first and the last thing we do in this body. Mm. So in this dance, the breath is not inside the dancer. The breath is the wind, the makani. Ha, ke ha'ala puna. Puna is dancing in the wind. So it's a wonderful way of looking in that puna does not breathe and then dance. Puna is the breathing. The place is the breathing. Place is the breathing. Feels good to breathe, doesn't it? Yes. And this breath is shared. We're sharing this breath in this room with everybody here. And every being on this planet is breathing the same air as well. The same atmosphere has circulated through generations before us by all of our ancestors. So you could say that when we do the Bodhisattva vow, sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. In a sense, the vow is already happening in our breath. Can that be? Every inhale, we're inhaling the world, and every exhale is something we're offering back to the world. We cannot not be in relationship. We are. The question is only whether we are present to it. Whether we are like Puna, the place where we allow ourselves to be in trance, taken by the spirit force moving through everything, only to emerge on the other side of that surrender in utter clarity. So Hi'iaka, who's the main character in this dance, her name itself is a teaching. Hi'iaka. Hi'i means to hold or carry in the arms as one carries a child. Aka means the moment of conception when the sperm enters the ovum, or it could mean an embryo. I can't imagine what kind of energy that must be when the sperm enters the ovum. What an electrical or energetic burst that must be. And so to hold or to carry this energy, that's your name, Hi'iaka. Another way of looking at it is holding the spirit self before it becomes fully embodied, before full embodiment. The carried embryo, Hi'iaka, the carried embryo, the one held before she was fully born into the world. And her full name is Hi'iaka Ikapoli o Pele. Hi'iaka held in the bosom of Pele, her older sister. The story is that Pele brings this egg, this embryo, with her from Kahiki, maybe it was Tahiti or some mythological land, to Hawaii. So she's holding this energy against her warm body and nurturing it and keeping it warm, keeping it alive. And Hi'iaka is the one who is dancing in utter clarity. So this energy, and Hi'iaka is the patron goddess of healing as well as the hula. She's the one moving beyond mortal limits, who keeps her responsibility through betrayal and fire and grief, because she was betrayed by her sister. There's this long saga where Hi'iaka goes to fetch Pele's dream lover on Kauai and comes back. Well, she's taking longer than I guess the agreed upon time was to come back because this was a major journey going from Hawaii Island for a young girl all the way up to Kauai, if you know the island chain. And on the way, she's meeting challenges after challenges. You know, it's the process of growing up and how she has to handle them. She's meeting big mythological dragons that she has to slay, sharks that she also has to slay. You know, so it takes her a little longer to get there. And so in the meantime, her sister thinks that Hi'iaka has betrayed her and has fallen in love with her dream lover, you know, and she has not, they made a promise to each other. I will go get him if you promise not to harm my groves of ohia lehua trees and my dearest friend, Hopoi. Okay, okay. So, and then Pele is flying into a rage because Hi'iaka is not back with her dream lover. And when she gets angry, there go all the fire and all of the lava, and it totally destroys Hi'iaka's best friend's Ohia Lehua Grove and her friend, kills her friend. So she is working with betrayal and grief. And yet she keeps to her responsibility. So getting back to this embryonic form, all right, which is really quite rich in metaphor and symbolism. So in Zen, we've talked about bodhicitta, this awakened heart, mind, right? It's something that arises in us before we even know what it is in many cases. And it's held in us in kind of this embryonic form by our lineage, by our teachers, by the Dharma, the teachings, and by our practice itself. It's held there until conditions ripen. And then emergence is just opens up. It's like, wow, what happened here? I'm crying. Why am I crying? I don't know. And I have always been speaking about generating bodhicitta. We generate it through our practice. Yes, yes. But I don't think that that's totally accurate. Instead of generating bodhicitta, I feel we carry it. We carry it. Or rather, it carries us. It carries us. As Pele carried Hi'iaka, pressed against her heart, across the ocean, all the way to Hawaii. And then the embryo is born. Born. And she dances. She dances. And that dance becomes the first hula. And this hula is the transmission through these centuries to right here, right now. Oak Park, Illinois, it's still alive, it's moving still. So her best friend Hopoi means well developed, fully developed as a ohia lehua flower. An ohia lehua flower is round, kind of like this, but full and round. That's what Hopoi means. Or it can also mean encircled, like with a lei, like a child around your neck. Can also mean that. And those two were inseparable, Hi'iaka and Hopoi. They would go into the forest, they would make lei, they would sing and chant and dance together. Hopoi taught the goddess how to dance. That is the story. And so they would also listen to nature and they would see nature's dance. It's not all human dance. The hula is everything dancing. Birds, listen to the streams, the language of the forest. And then the forest taught them, because hula is about, or is, the dance of the forest. And the land and the wind, ocean. So Hawaiians talk about ike, this knowledge from the body, this knowing from the body, not just from the mind. It's the whole body. So it's not just information or abstract understanding. It's that knowing that comes from being rained on, being snowed on, climbing the mountain, having stood in the wind. It's that kind of knowing. And what we call prajna, wisdom. So we treat this space as sacred, the altar as sacred. And we make a lot of bows in terms of respecting that sacred nature of this place. We're fully present, or we practice, we practice to be fully present when we bow. We're not just bowing just to get to the kitchen or whatever, we're bowing, we're just here bowing. So what if this sacred space was not separate from our daily lives? We go. Dogen says, to study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things, by the 10,000 things, which is everything. So in hula, the dancer, after learning something, can let the self go, forget the self, and then be open to more learning. So consider that you are the altar. So the sacred, you are sacred. You can't forget that. It's something to just get. So the sacred does not arrive when we get the conditions right, when everything's perfect. It arrives when we become present enough to notice it was never absent. It was never absent. So, right, this Bodhisattva vow of ours. We don't say, I vow to save beings when conditions are favorable, when I feel ready, when I have not been betrayed, when the forests are still standing. It says sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save, to free them. In the fire, after the fire, when everything is burnt down or turned to stone and the world has broken every promise it made to you, like Job. So this is not heroism. It's something quieter and more radical than heroism. It is what Taupori Tangaro points to in this line, hula le avale, dancing in utter clarity, not despite the loss, not after the grief has passed, in the midst of it, clear, present, still moving, dancing in the midst of it. Yeah, here we go. We're dancing in the midst of the wind and all the hala trees of Kia'au. Dancing is the woman with Hopoi, dancing in the sea of Nanahuki. So this tree, the Ohia lehua tree, is one of the first plants to grow on new lava. It's kind of suited to this. I don't know if any of you have seen lava, but it's kind of inhospitable, but looks can be deceiving. It is very rich. It is from the depths of the earth. And so there is a story about the Ohia lehua tree. So the Ohia is the tree, the lehua is the blossom on this tree. So in the Hawaiian tradition, there were two lovers, and Pele fell in love with the young man named Ohia, but his heart really belonged to another, Lehua. And in her jealousy, Pele's jealousy, she transformed him into a tree, gnarled, dark, twisted. It's actually a very heavy wood, a very strong wood, beautiful wood. And the other gods, they were so moved by Lehua's grief that they couldn't undo what Pele had done. And so they transformed Lehua to be a blossom on that tree. And so in that way, they were forever together, never separate. So this is the first tree to come up in the lava. And so not despite the fire, but because of it, it comes up. And it actually represents Pele and Hi'iaka. It's the tree form of them. They have many forms they can take, the deities. But we're talking about here also loss, impermanence, and grief. And how some things will never be the same the way that it was before, right? Things change. But that real love, deep love that has been through the fire and been transformed by it grows best in the very substrate of that transformation. So the loss is not erased, it becomes the ground. And the Bodhisattva vow is like this, isn't it? Yeah. Many of us come here because we are broken. And we chant the vows, not because we're not broken, but because we are, but we chant them still, nonetheless. So in Zen, we say, chop wood, carry water. So it's like before the vow, chop wood, carry water. After the vow, chop wood, carry water. This is our Zen practice, so down to earth. And a beautiful way to look at it is the world is not less broken. We are not less capable of grief, but we are rooted differently now. We grow where we could not grow before. So this is hula le'a vale, not dancing because the grief is gone, dancing in utter clarity, rooted in the transformed ground, blossom open, still here, still moving, still together. So Tangaro tells us to dance in the stance of Ha'a is to be consumed by possession, to move beyond mortal limits, only to arrive at utter clarity. This is the Bodhisattva vow. We do not save beings by force of will or virtue alone. We become so present, so entrained with the currents of suffering and compassion, so surrendered to the makani moving through this world, that the vow moves through us. So we chant the three vows. Let's do sentient being creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to open them. The awakened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to open them. The awakened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to open them. The awakened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody.
Thank you, Roshi. That was just beautiful. I love the rich image you bring to the vow. The aliveness, the way it moves through us, the embryonic state of it, just so beautiful. So beautiful, Roshi.
Thank you for bringing it up in the first place in your talk, Myogetsu. You want to see the whole dance?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do just one time each verse. So you know what the first verse is about. The wind is animating and the place is dancing, this energy. The second one is at Puna, right? There's this huge wind which is blowing the lehua, the person, around, off course, whatever. But it's like still look at that. There you're gonna find the answer. Just listen, look and listen at the ocean. Ke ha'alapuna I kamakani, ke ha'alapuna, ke ha'alapuna I kamakani, ha'kaulu hala I ke ha'au, ha'aha'ena me ho'o, ha'akawahine ami kayonana, hulani awale I kayonana, hulani awale I kayonana, Opuna, opuna kai kuai tahala e kaleo o ke kai ke lulai na puale rua na na ni kayo na na ulale avale I kayo na na ulale avale I kayo na na Hinoano ke ha'ala Puna, in honor of Puna, is dancing in the wind. Any other questions or thoughts?
I love the idea of dealing with the challenges and adversity with the word dancing. That's very, very powerful, very interesting.
Roshi has said that a lot, it's about dancing. You're
Yeah.
dancing with life.
Yeah.
So it's you're either dancing or you're not. So it depends what you want to do. You always have the option, of course. But when you're stuck, a lot of times you're not moving and you're not dancing. And it's not saying that stuck is bad also, right? Because we're trying to open every experience is a learning experience and trying to figure out, we might not figure it out right away. It might take a little while, it might take years, But time is short. They talk about practicing as if your hair was on fire, right? Because time is short. Our lives here are short, really, compared to mountains.
Yeah, I love the idea too of allowing movement, body movement in as a way to just move stuff around. So if something feels heavy or uh, just uncomfortable or just something to just throw it at movement,
Yeah,
dance, throw it at,
yeah,
let the body reach and move. Yeah.
right. Like when we sit, we're practicing just stilling the body so that we can kind of just calm down a little bit. But I happened to look at Facebook and I saw there was 3 methods for deep sleep, which is interesting. And one was this tapping,
Yes.
like this, like for a minute. The other one that was really interesting was just moving around in your chair like this. This was a great way to move emotions, actually. And I tried it and I was like, hey, this feels really nice. Yeah, try that, everybody. Just kind of go around like that. It's kind of nice, right? I don't know how you feel, but I feel good. Mhm. And there's another one which I don't know, but those two in particular really seem to, yeah, like calming you down, that tapping. So when you're moving it, if the motion is stuck, it makes sense. If you move your body, it can start to move that emotion as well.
Well, as you said, winds are minds.
Winds our minds, the thoughts, right?
Yeah.
The emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, they sure do whip you around.
They sure do. They do. Yeah. So it's like look, listen, right? Which means you have to pause and look and listen, breathe. The breath, important. Well, I guess it's time for lunch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. She's just beautiful. Oh. Man, you're better. You're inspired, then, Jen.
Yeah.
Restructuring.